Well, 8th grade, now it's time to go backwards. Now we have our equation, our quadratic equation, and we are going to factor it. So here's the concept. X squared plus bx plus c. That's the general equation. And to factor that, you get x plus m and x plus p, where m plus p equals b, that's this b, and mp equals c, that's this c. Now, that would be good to put in your notes, but probably better even to put an example in your notes. So when I look at this, I'm going to have something here and something here. Whatever those two numbers are, they need to add up to this, and they need to multiply to this. So if I look at this and I think, all right, how do I get 6? Actually, I usually start here and say, how do I get 8? 1 times 8, all right? 1 times 8 is 8, but 8 plus 1 is 6. 2 times 4. 2 times 4 equals 6. Sounds like I have a good one. 4, 2. So to put this in terms of the other thing, up here we have m plus p equals b. That means m plus p equals b, and mp equals c. There you go. So you have to think of, in basic terms, think of what numbers do you add together to get this, and what numbers do you multiply to get this, and see if you can figure out which ones are which. Let's look at some examples. Now, in this, both parts are positive. Now, it's nice when both are positive because then you know that both of these things are going to be positive as well. So you just think of numbers that add together and multiply. As soon as I look at this and I see the 20, I think 4 times 5, and that's nice because 4 plus 5 equals 9. So I should have 4 and 5. And the order doesn't matter. You know, which one's first, x plus 5, x plus 4, that doesn't matter. Everything's fine. Now, what if everything's not positive? Now in this one, we have this number negative and this number positive. Now when you see this, this gives you a clue that both of these should be negative, because the only way you're going to get two numbers that multiply to get a positive number here and a negative number here is if they're both negative. So let's see, how about 3 and 4? No, negative 3, negative 4 would not make negative 8. 2 and 6. See if that works. So that's negative 2x, negative 2x, negative 6x. That would give you negative 8x. And negative 2 times negative 6 would give you positive 12. So far, if both signs are positive, both of these are positive. If this is negative and that's positive, they're both negative. So then I guess there must be a way when there's one of each, when you get this to be negative. Alright, now this is positive and that's negative. So to get a negative here, you have to have one of each. Because if you had two positive numbers down here, you'd get a positive number here. And if you had two negative numbers here, you'd get a positive. So there must be one of each. So minus one plus the other. Now, the way that I do this is I look at this here and I think, alright, has to be a positive. That means whatever numbers I have to make negative 15, the bigger, larger number has to be positive. Has to be positive. So, let's see. 5 and 3, that makes 15. And the 5 has to be the positive one, and the 3 has to be negative. And again, I know that because this is positive. That means my 5x that I'm going to get needs to be bigger than my negative 3x. 5x minus 3x equals 2x. And negative 3, negative 5, negative 15. So, let's see. If they're both positive, then I'm going to have both of these positive. If they are both, if B is negative and C is positive, then they're both going to be negative, because I'm going to have negative x numbers here, but a negative and a negative would make a positive. And then the one we just did was if you have C as being negative and this being positive. Well, there's only one case left, which is, what if they're both negative? Let's take a look at that too. Okay, so now I have x squared minus 6x minus 18, and both of them are negative. And again, I'm still going to start here, and I'm going to say, okay, if this is negative, that means I must have one of each. But since this is negative, that means the bigger of the two numbers must be negative. I'm going to make a small little change because I intended to do a different problem, and this one will not work. Let's pretend that that 6 is a 7 actually, because I'm going to try to get a 7 there, and that's the one I meant. So, factors of 18, let's see, 2 and 9. 2 and 9. Now, 2 and 9 are going to work, and the bigger one has to be negative. So that would be minus 9 plus 2. I don't even know if we have any of these in this lesson. I'll have to see if I see any. Well, there is one like that. Yeah. Huh, I wonder why they don't go over that in the book. Anyway, so x squared, and we have 2x and negative 9x. So negative 9, positive 2, negative 7, and 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. And here's an example of one that, like what I was talking about. And I'll write them like this just to confuse you. So the first thing you need to do is rewrite it m squared minus m minus 42. Now, I notice that they are both negative, and the only way to get this negative is with one of each, positive and a negative. So I'm going to have m plus, m minus. I know that there's a 1 right here, so whatever factors I have need to end up at 1, and the bigger one has to be negative. I'm pretty sure that this one is minus 7 plus 6, because I know 6 times 7, negative 42, and negative 7m plus positive 6m would leave me with 1 after that. There you go. Let's look at one of the other ones where they are trying to be weird. And look at number 29. This is about solving an equation. So you're supposed to solve this equation. The only way you can really solve it is by factoring. First, you have to get everything on the same side. So that should be h squared minus 16h plus 48 equals 0. All I did was move the 16h to the other side of the equation. Subtract from both sides. Now, I look at what I have, and I notice this is positive, this is negative. The only way that's going to work is if I have both negatives. So it should be h minus and h minus. Must be time to be done with the lesson. The bell rang. So 48, I think 6 times 8. But 6 and 8, if one of them is, if they're both negative, 6 and 8 would be 14. That's not right. Must be, let's see, 4 times 12? Minus 4 minus 12. Does that work? Negative 12h, negative 4h, negative 16h. There you go. That's it. Now, answers for this. And I'm also going to show you number 33, just so you're not bothered by this when they have another variable in here. You do the same thing. So I start and I say, all right, they're both positive. So that means Q plus, Q plus. And I have to think of something that will give me 18 when I multiply and 11. Boy, I think 2 and 9 jumping right out at me. Now the other thing though is you have to be able to get r squared. So I'm going to do that. So you have q plus 2r and q plus 9r. And that works the same for all the others like this for 34 and 36, except you got to look at the positives and negatives there. And so here's what I'm going to have you do. So it looks like we're doing 507 to 508, numbers 12 to 38, even. There you go. Have fun.